The Zone 105.9 and worldwide at thezone1059.com.
All right. And away we go. On a Tuesday. Feels like a Monday, but it is a Tuesday. And, it feels like a Monday because yesterday was Labor Day. And so I hope everyone enjoyed a long weekend, restful weekend, maybe. Eat some good food. Maybe you got outside, did a few things. I don't know. Caught up on some of that yard work, whatever. Whatever you do on Labor Day, other than work. Hope you enjoyed that. And glad to be back with you here today on this Tuesday. I'm Matt. Beaver is here in the Bureau, the Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau. And I'm glad to be here on a Tuesday. And we get to go on kind of full-on Reaction Tuesday instead of Reaction Monday. Full-on Reaction Tuesday. Our first time to get back together here around the table together. And talk about the games that we saw this past weekend and the results and that sort of thing. Now, disclaimer here. I am pretty significantly under the weather. In fact, our plan was to be on the air yesterday. Beaver and I were going to go to our respective Farm Bureau Insurance studios and be on the air with you yesterday, but I was significantly under the weather yesterday. And so I ain't a whole lot better today. But I'm well enough and medicated enough to be here because we got to talk football. So with that said, I will offer preemptive apologies for sniffles, for what will be intermittent silence as I turn my mic off to cough and clear my throat and all those kinds of things. Right now, the plan is to get through it for 2 hours. Now, if I hit a wall or at some point, I'll let you know, but we'll make it through it together. But having said that, I could really use your help. And and by help, I mean, I would love for you to do a lot of the talking today. That'd be great here on this Reaction Monday. So you could comment on the live stream. If you're watching over there on YouTube or on Facebook or on X, formerly Twitter, feel free to comment over there. Yeah, I'm coming to some of y'all in just a bit. So just type it in and it pops up on the screen. And then we can make it a part of the show that way. Then you can also text me on the Country Pleasing text line. The number to text is 885-3776. Got it? That's a 601 number, 885-3776. And another good way to remember that is 885-ESPN. So just text that number. Grumpy and Rusty and y'all, I'm coming to your text in just a bit. And then a great way to be a part of the show today on this Reaction Tuesday. Just call me up and tell me what you thought. What'd you think about Ole Miss putting up nearly 80 points in their game against Furman? What do you think about State debut for Blake Shapen and Jeff Levy in the offense? And Kevin Coleman Jr. looks like a real speedster and a star for their offense. What'd you think? So I'd love to hear your evaluations. If you have questions, hit me up with those too. I'll give you honest answers. And you are probably like me that you watched a few other games. The games that for me, since I'm on the radio crew for State, I saw all of that one, obviously. I did not get to see the Ole Miss game, but I looked at the score, and, that's pretty indicative. Ole Miss came out of the gates firing on all cylinders like everybody has predicted them to. So I didn't get to see that, but I did see, let's go back. I saw last night the Florida State-Boston College game. Thoughts on that? Because now we've seen Florida State twice, and what do y'all think? They ranked them number 10 in the preseason. It's the best example you're going to find in recent memory of how useless preseason polls are in college football. Saw that one. What else did I see? Who played on Sunday? Who was it? Who was the college game on Sunday? Oh, it was LSU and USC. I saw all of that one. So in terms of, for me personally, the games that I watched, State, every snap, and then every snap of LSU, USC, and then every snap of Florida State and Boston College last night. We can get into whatever you want to get into. All right, cool. All right, let me get us started off here on the Country Pleasing text line. Grumpy texts, and he said, Matt, Grumpy's celebration meal this weekend, MSU's victory and Miami's victory over Florida, was a country pleasing sausage and cheese plate at the Sunset Grill and Marina at the Barnett Reservoir. Delicious. Hail State. Man, that sounds great. A great way to celebrate. So you, Grumpy, are you a Miami fan? I'm curious. I know you're a State fan, but you're also a Miami fan, or are you just rooting against Florida? I would love to know. Rusty texts the show, and he says, hey, Matt, remember this fella? Yeah, I remember that. I remember that guy. That's a picture of me from what? Probably 96, 97-ish, somewhere in there. Look at that logo too, Rusty. Not to bring up a logo debate. But, yeah, look at that. Oh, the interlocking from the 90s. It doesn't get much better than that. Thanks for the picture. Glad somebody remembers, Rusty. Somebody texts the show and says, the early line on the game at Arizona State is Arizona State by 7. Do you think this is a fair line? Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm someone who doesn't know a lot about how the betting lines and stuff work. So just in terms of a team like Arizona State being favored by a touchdown, if you're telling me what that means is they think they're going to win by a touchdown. Well, I can certainly see it. Arizona State is much improved year 2. Isn't that right? It's either year 2 or 3 for Dillingham, the young head coach out there at Arizona State. And, they went through the whole quarterback thing and transferring some big high name, highly recruited name in there. And then he left and so on. But I watched some of the highlights and went back and watched a little bit of the film of their win over Wyoming the other night. And the thing that jumped out at me is they are very well coached. They're much better this year on the line of scrimmage than they were in recent years. And they were able to take advantage of some Wyoming mistakes early in that game and kind of get it going downhill early too. Their offense, I think, is going to be hard to defend because it is not your typical RPO zone read spread offense. They're under center. They'll go very multiple. They'll put a tight end up there. They'll run power and counter pulling guards and do some of that stuff and then play action off of it. So I think Arizona State's offensive style will be the first real challenge for State's linebackers in a pass game. Of course, it's only week 2. But the other thing is, too, they run it really well. And I'm curious to see against a better opponent, just how stout State's defensive front is. I noticed a difference the other night when Kelvin Dinkins went out of the game for State. After that moment, you could notice a difference. They were still rotating, but the fact that Dinkins wasn't rotating in and playing a bunch of snaps at nose allowed Eastern Kentucky to have a few, better run plays. It wasn't like they went off, but they did have a few better. And so I think it's really good news for State that his injury was not that bad and that they do, he'll be game time, but at least there's a chance that he could play because I think he would be an important player for State in this game this weekend. Those are just some of my thoughts. I can certainly understand Arizona State being favored in the game or, if people think they're going to win because they are much improved. They really are. You could just watch them and tell they're very physical and they play a physical style. It being a home game very, very late at night for them, and it's a really long, odd road trip. State's football team, since the beginning of time, football teams travel to road games typically on Friday, meaning you're playing on Saturday. Like if State's playing at Texas A&M, you load the plane in the middle of the day on Friday, you fly over there, you land, you get to the hotel Friday afternoon. They'd have dinner, walkthroughs, that sort of thing, meetings, go to bed, wake up on game day, play the game, game's over, you fly back home. This being such a long trip and a weird, different trip, State is actually taking their team out there on Thursday. That's my understanding. So State's actually leaving on Thursday, get there, get acclimated, because it's a long flight, spend Thursday night, and then they'll be there all day Friday. And then spend another night before playing the game. And then game's so late, the game actually kicks off at 8 p.m. Saturday night out there. It'll be 10 p.m. here. So it'll be like 2 or 3 in the morning when the plane takes off to bring everybody back home. So they'll get home in Starkville around 7 a.m. Sunday morning. And then it'll be all about sleep and recovery and getting into the next game week. Hey, I know I've done a lot of rambling here and answering one question. That's the best I can do. Humphreys County, Denzel, Grumpy, others, I'm coming to your text on the live stream. I see you over there, Hail State fan, Jared, JS290, Joseph, everybody, Danny, Kobe. I'm coming to you, I promise. But right now I'm going to flip it over to the phone line, the Divinity Equipment phone line. Divinity Equipment in Madison and in Jackson. The number to call if you want to be on the phone with me is 897-1059. Line 1, Andre. Andre, thanks for calling. What's up?
Man, what's going on?
Not much. Good to hear your voice. Your picks almost worked out.
Hey, it's a great week for college football. That was a great weekend.
Yeah, it really was. What'd you make? I know you said you wouldn't be surprised, if Clemson beat Georgia. Georgia was just too strong for them. What'd you think about the others?
To be honest with you, Matt, you look at Texas A&M and Notre Dame.
Yeah.
As great as that home field advantage it is for Texas A&M, I don't ever remember them winning a game on their home field.
not a big one.
Not a big game. I thought about it. I'd never seen that.
Yeah. The only time I can remember was when they had the quarterback named Calzada before he transferred to Auburn, and they beat Bryce Young in Alabama in there. So if it was Bryce Young, you're talking about, 3-4 years ago. But that's about the only one I can think of.
Okay. We got the Florida State quarterback.
Yeah.
He kind of reminded me of a guy. I don't know if you remember him. Name was Mitch Mustaine.
Yeah.
He was highly rated coming out of high school, just like Florida State quarterback is.
Yeah.
He was at Arkansas and he was at USC.
Right.
He killed both of those programs. It looked like the same guy that's at Florida State has demised Clemson too, because they haven't been back on track since he left. Since he came, really.
Yeah, I think you're right. And Andre, I can get into this later. If I'm careful, I'll get too long-winded. But watching him now for 2 games, 𝐌𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 looking at, and his part of his issue is, one, his release, mechanically, his release is really long. Like when he throws the ball, it's like really drawn out in a wind-up type of throw. On top of the fact that he's a big guy and his feet are inconsistent. And that sounds like being picky, but I'm just telling you, having been through it, and you can talk to guys who know, he's not coached well. Somebody hasn't hammered him on the fundamentals, and so that long, drawn-out release and then his feet being different every time he throws the ball leads to he can't be accurate consistently, and that's part of his issue.
Well, from the looks of it, everybody thought Florida State went back. We might be surprised. They might end up 7-5.
I know. They don't look good to me. Man, I'll tell you what else, Andre. Florida State looked like last night against Boston College. They looked like they weren't in as good a physical condition as Boston College either. You know, like Boston College,
Yeah.
Boston College didn't have a size advantage, but man, BC looked like they never got tired in that game, and Florida State looked like they were tired by the second quarter.
Yes, sir. That's what it looked like to me. Now, the question of the day is, do we see Deion Coach Prime going to Florida? Because Billy Napier, he's in trouble, man.
Look,
I think they might go 4-8. Pull up their schedule and look at it.
Man.
I don't see too many wins on it for Florida.
you can't find a win. If you find a win on Florida's schedule, it's just picking the upset. That's all it is.
Well, I'm going to get off here. Before I get off, I want to call Nebraska. They got a Patrick Mahomes looking like they beat Colorado this weekend.
All right.
Pull up that quarterback. He looks just like Patrick Mahomes. Same number, same face.
Okay.
I'm serious.
Okay. I'm going to look it up. I
got Nebraska all over Colorado because Colorado still don't play no defense. And that's going to be their downfall.
Yep. I agree with you. I would pick Nebraska too. Andre, I appreciate you, man. Great to hear from you. Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
You too. Call me anytime. I won't be surprised at all to see Nebraska beat Colorado. I felt like Colorado is undisciplined. You know what I mean? Like they tried their best they did some really dumb things, penalties and otherwise, that kept helping the opponent. And, they're pretty good, but I think Nebraska's going to, and it's going to be at Nebraska, isn't it? I think. I don't know. We can look that up. Jared commented on Facebook. He said, Deion is going to Florida State, his alma mater, because Norvell is sitting on the same seat as Napier. You may be right. And the thing about it is, Jared, purely from a football standpoint, are you convinced that Deion Sanders is a better X's and O's coach, or at putting a team together, getting them ready to play, whatever? The thing is, he's just, you saw it. I know it was a Monday night Labor Day game last night, but on one side of Florida State Stadium, half their stadium was empty. Not a soul in it. And you hire Deion, it's a sellout day one, period. I mean, that's one thing you can say about it. JS290 said BC's quarterback is short and slow, and the FSU D could not catch him scrambling. Well, I didn't think he was slow. He might have been short, but I did not think he was slow. I thought he was fast. And I thought Boston College took it to them physically. Boston College, you could tell from a strength and conditioning standpoint, they were in better condition than Florida State. Somebody has been soft on Florida State. Jared Lee commented on Facebook, said it's weird he's an athlete and can run in the open, but he gets flat-footed and stuck in the pocket. Flat-footed a little bit, Jared, yeah, I agree. And that's the thing. Sometimes guys like DJ, they have this big, strong arm, and so you want to just rely on it, and your feet get sloppy and lazy, and you can't be accurate. And the other thing, I mean, I don't know if he's got a hurt arm or a hurt hand or what it is, but he doesn't throw a very catchable ball. Now, just because it doesn't spiral, like he never threw a tight spiral in a ball game. Well, I say never. He hardly ever did. You go back and watch Peyton Manning. He threw a duck most of his career, but there was something about it being soft and catchable and on time. And it's almost like if you're going to throw a ball that's not a spiral and you're going to be throwing it just a hair late and driving it in there 90 miles an hour at a tight end, the ball's flapping on the way to him, they struggle with it. And that's just little bitty things too. I don't know what you do about that. Country Please in text line, somebody said Joe Moorhead is available for Florida. He loves propping himself up on the failures of previous coaches. Perfect fit. Grumpy said, yes, I'm a Miami fan. Have been to Coral Gables many times. Beautiful campus. Well, that's cool. And Miami has them a sure enough quarterback, don't they? Annabeth watched that Miami and Florida game. She said, this Miami quarterback is great. I like him. She's become a fan of Cam Ward. White Denzel texts the show. Says a couple of thoughts. Bill O'Brien has BC looking like a top 4 ACC team. Well, they do. They look good. I mean, running the ball, physical. Somebody said Virginia Tech is a shell of their former self. They are. And Vandy, credit them, they're a little better, but Virginia Tech's just not very good. Denzel said Florida versus FSU will be on the ID channel this year for what each team's run game is going to do to each other. Maybe. Might actually be a good game. Humphreys County Dog texts the show. Said it felt good to watch state players just have fun playing ball. It's been a long time coming for those guys. Get better soon, Hail State. Well, I agree with you, Humphreys County. You know what? You nailed it. In the post-game show with Bart and Charlie, I sort of summed it up this way. Like one big overall thought watching State's game against EKU. And this is the statement. It was fun to watch. It's fun to watch. And it's fun when you win, and it's obviously fun when you score points and throw touchdown passes. But it was fun to watch. And part of the reason it was fun to watch is they played fast and aggressive, and the guys really had fun running around on the field. And they were celebrating on the sideline and having a good time. And again, it wouldn't be that way if you're getting your brains beat in by a good team. But in this case, you were on the other end of that, so it was a lot of fun. And you could tell. They were flying around and happy to be out there. And there's a good culture in it right now. Now, at some point, they're going to go out and get beat. And then you really learn a little more about what your culture is and how well prepared you are to handle that. So we'll see. Dog Tired in Florence texted the show, said, Matt, you made me laugh this weekend. Coleman's acrobatic catch. Neil was quick to say that was an incredible catch, but out of bounds. I think it was in. Yeah, I don't know how he caught that and got a foot down. It was incredible. And then he says, Dog Tired says, I watched ESPN for 2 hours to see if it made the top 10. Surprisingly, it must have been 11th. There were so many incredible plays this weekend. Those top 2 were defensive plays and interceptions. I didn't realize that. Hey, how about the catch by that USC receiver against LSU? You will never see a better catch than that. And that was a heck of a ball game too. And proud for Woody Marks. I think, he's tough as leather and deserves to have some success. And he's on a really good football team out there, and they're using him. Started the game, got the winning touchdown, and he and his mom still rooting for State on social media and everything, so I was proud for them. Rebel Greg says, Andre talking about Mitch Mustaine. Yep, Mitch Mustaine. That's going way, way back. Okay, coming up next, I'll get some more of your texts. Stephen, Jason out in Arizona, Patrick, others on the text line, Sammy and JS290 and Danny, Kobe, coming to y'all on the live stream. That's all coming up as we get started here in the Bureau. Stick around.
Today's game from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Time was, their breakfasts were gloomy. They just didn't feel right, and they didn't know a delicious cereal could help their sad plight. So they tried this and tried that, but irregularity kept coming back all the same. For as often the case, lack of bulk in their diet was actually to blame. Once at the grocer's, the wife was so drooping and sagging that a neighbor said, "Get on Kellogg's All-Bran wagon. Why, All-Bran has a flavor that's scrumptious to eat. So rich and nut-like, makes breakfast a treat. And of course, Kellogg's All-Bran can help you each day to youthful regularity, the dietary way." "Well, it might do some good," said the wife with a sigh. "Guess I'll get some All-Bran and give it a try." Soon, breakfasts at her house were happy and bright, for delicious Kellogg's All-Bran set their day off right. Yes, All-Bran supplies all the bulk in your diet, you see, that you may need for youthful regularity. And no half-brand cereal possibly can provide this help as surely as Kellogg's All-Bran. A delicious, non-habit-forming aid to your diet. You're sure to like All-Bran. Just buy it and try it.
Get on the Kellogg's All-Bran wagon with the best bran in the land. The cereal, the taste brand, the cereal that's All-Bran. A breakfast treat that can't be beat. Be a regular guy and climb aboard the All-Bran wagon. Eat Kellogg's All-Bran.
What is the secret of this enchanted book? What wonders are hidden within its pages? What magical spell does it cast on all who read it? What is the secret of the never-ending story?
But that's impossible!
You will enter Enter a world where a young boy's imagination becomes a vivid reality. The world of 𝐌𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐢 and 𝐅𝐚𝐫𝐬𝐬𝐢, the Rockbiter, and the good and kind gnome. A world that is vast and eternal, treacherous and dazzling, unforgettable and free. For anyone who's ever made a wish, believed in a fantasy, or had a dream, this is the never-ending story.
It's a new thing, it's a fun thing, it's a swing wing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing, it's a wing wing. A brand new transparent fun thing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing. A fun thing. And now it's your favorite store thing.
It's a what?
Mazda announces some great news for truck buyers. Right now, you can beat the already outstanding value of the 67.
Not here, because you've got Man Wyatt.
Oh, I am starving.
Don't worry, he's got a menu full on the Zone 105.9 and worldwide at the Zone 105.9.com.
All right, back with you. Here we go. Rolling along on this Reaction Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in. If you're just tuning in, lots of ways for you to be a part of the show. You can comment on the live stream. You can text me on the Country Pleasing text line at 885-ESPN, or give me a call on the phone at 897-1059. It's good to get a call from Andre earlier. I'm fighting it. I'm under the weather, but I wanted to get in here and talk football with y'all. So you being here and being a part of the show is huge. It's huge for me. I just appreciate it so much. The first person I heard from today on YouTube on the live stream was Kobe, who said this offense could be dangerous. And, you know, I think you're right. I think State's offense could be dangerous. You know, I came away from the game and pretty much, you know, both phases, offense, defense, going, you know, there's certainly some things that they got to do better when they play better teams, and knocking people off the ball or moving them around in the run game up front is one of those for State. But yeah, I think what you saw Saturday was a lot of success, and one hit in the backfield on the quarterback throughout the game, which that's really one too many, but one's not as bad as it could be. There's only one time you let him back there. When Shapen runs, he's got to get down. You know, don't take punishment you don't have to take, but he's really dangerous running the ball. And that's the thing about it. I mean, you look at the pass catchers. Mosley has come to life. Coleman is electric. He is a light show. And when you get Akari back, which they'll get him back at some point, and add him into the mix, it is really going to be fun to see. You know, and the other night they tried to get the tight end involved in the pass game a little more, and he had an alligator arms drop at one point on that crossing route. He thought he was going to get hit, took his eyes off of it, and there was another time where they just missed him. But, yeah. But I think O-line's got, you know, they got to get a little better. Running backs, they can be a little better. But they got a chance to be pretty good. Danny commented. He said, Hail State Matt from Ringgold, Georgia. The offense Saturday night was outstanding, but I was pleasantly surprised by the defense. Yeah, defense did a good job. And, you know, the one drive they gave up, which was before half, was the experience of trying to make a team play against the clock. You know, defensively, you're different when you know they're in throw mode and you don't want them to have the chance to take shots and throw 50-50 balls up the field. So you back up and you keep everything in front of you and you give up completions. And they just about force them up against the clock. I mean, I thought they did a pretty decent job. You're playing that deep, soft zone to give up the underneath throws. The only way they could be better on that one drive would have been, you know, 3-man rush, somebody get free and pressure their quarterback a little more. You kind of got blocked there with your 3-man rush on that 2-minute drive. And the other thing was the play that they scored, and you had a great swim move by the right defensive end. He's free to the quarterback on his backside and just planted him, knocked his helmet off when he hit him in the back. The quarterback just stood in there and made a blind throw and hit a guy who made a phenomenal catch in the back of the end zone. And so I just thought they made a good play. Other than that, you did a good job against their run game. You had some 3-and-outs, forced a lot of punts, and so it was a pretty good day by the defense overall. All right, Stephen texts the show, Country Please, in text line. He said, what is the injury to 𝐊𝐫𝐬𝐬𝐢? He said, I thought I saw him dancing on the sideline. I hope he's available Saturday. Yeah, whatever the injury is, Stephen, it's not low. It doesn't look like it's terribly debilitating lower body, because I noticed that too. He was running around, and he was the first to celebrate with guys when they were coming off after touchdowns and jumping around and hollering and screaming. And so it leads me to believe that whatever it is, hopefully it's not that serious. And as far as like how soon they can get him back, I don't really know. Maybe they're hopeful this week. They do have him on the depth chart, so we'll see. Stephen wants to know if Burnside played much Saturday. He said, I was there, but I don't remember him having any catches. They gave him one like speed sweep, but I don't know if he had any other touches. I'll look it up and see. Let's see. Did he get credited for a rush? No. So he got credited for a reception. So that must have been a screen throw, or maybe they tossed it forward to him. The play actually went for a loss. So he's credited for one touch in the game. Now, Stephen also said, it looks to me like State's defensive line needs to get better. Eastern Kentucky was getting a push at times on runs and able to protect the quarterback on passes more than I would have liked. I think, Stephen, that's something coming out of the game. I felt like probably both lines of scrimmage are going to have to make big strides from week 1 to week 2. I mean, you just are. And that would be the only concern for me, is still looking to the defensive front to go, okay, who up there is going to be a disruptor? As a team in there, you allowed, including the fourth quarter, which is playing all your backups, they allowed 126 yards rushing. And then in terms of hits on the other quarterback, let's see. They got credited for 2 sacks. State got credited for 2 sacks. They didn't have a ton of opportunities to get in on sacks, but Dinkins had one of those. They were credited for 4 TFLs and 5 hits on the quarterback, which 2 of those were Russell, DeMonte Russell, defensive end. I'm sorry, Dontarie Russell, the young Russell who came in and played linebacker and rush. He's credited with 2 of the 5 quarterback hits. And again, you're talking about late in the game. I think it's one of those where obviously they did a pretty good job. I mean, they did. And they might even be a little better there on the defensive side than we thought, but they're going to have to play a lot better going forward. I mean, that's true. Airborne Dog texts the show, and he said, how concerned are you about stalled drives in the State game? Well, I'm not really concerned by it. Chapin played the first 3 quarters of the game and did not play in the fourth quarter. And so the drives that they had that they didn't score on in the fourth quarter were with the other backup quarterbacks in there. Chapin Chapin played the first 3 quarters, and then so the drives that he was in there for, you had 6 touchdowns on the first 8 possessions. So they were 6 of their first 8 on touchdowns. And then the last one ended in a field goal attempt. So you had a scoring opportunity, you just didn't get it in the end zone. So that would be 7 of the 9 possessions that he was in there for ended either with a touchdown or a kick at the goalpost. And so I'm not concerned about stall drives in that game. But again, they had one drive where they interrupted themselves and the momentum they had in the game by, you had an offensive tackle lining up too far off the ball, and 2 different times he got called for illegal formation and being actually in the backfield. So little things like that. They didn't have a ton of false starts. So, as long as they make that quintessential week 1 to week 2 improvement, I think they're going to be okay. Patrick texted the show, and he said, can anyone else remember the last time we've seen state wide receivers running freely downfield? Several times I saw it Saturday. It's a great feeling. They really did get them open. And, Patrick, what I think is that is an offshoot, a result of how they design and run the RPO stuff in that system. You know, when Levy was coaching at Ole Miss, I remember, you know, you'd watch some of their games with Corral and go, you know, how do they continue to get these guys so wide open consistently throughout the game? How are they getting these go balls where it's like the DBs are constantly out of position? They always create that, and there's got to be some way, some knack they've developed for numbers, you know, getting the numbers, getting the mismatch, and then taking the mismatch, and maybe then even reading the route, letting the receiver read the route too. Which I mean by that is you don't just call, you know, a curl at 14 yards. It's a deal where based on what the defense does, he may run 3 or 4 different things. And I think we saw that. The third play of the game when they hit Mosley for the touchdown up the side there, I put that in the film study. I believe that's an RPO call or an RPO option where the offensive line was run blocking. The tight end was run blocking. The back went through the run fake thinking, you know, he may give me the ball. It's just that the quarterback pulled the ball based on something he saw at the next level and throws a go ball touchdown up the left sideline to a guy who's just all by himself back there, because I think he ran that route because the corner stayed inside and hesitated on the run fake. So he adjusted and ran the go ball. They consistently get people open. So it is fun to see. Gives you some hope, right? As a fan, you show up thinking we have a good day offensively. We may score enough points to win this game. Denzel texted the show, said it's early in his career, but I think Luke Work is going to be one of the best next great Mississippi State offensive linemen. Looked really good when he was in there. I think you're right, Denzel. I think the kid's a future star. That's what I think. His coaches, I think, feel the same way. It's just a matter of bringing him along, developing him, and getting him in there in the right spots at the right time. But he's one that, I mean, for an offensive lineman, when he got in the game, it's like he'd never gotten to play in a game before. He was so excited and knocking people around and throwing people around and running around. He's going to be a good one now. Yeah, I agree with you. Hail State fan said, if you're Tennessee Tech's coach, what do you tell your players going into Georgia on Saturday? Yeah, I think you tell them, boys, do your job the best you can, have some fun, play ball, okay? One way or the other, we're going to be sleeping in our own bed tonight, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. All right, more of your comments coming up and your text. Stick around.
Now's the time to get a great deal on proven Kubota.
Thursday, it's Cosby starting off a night of family fun. And leave it to Family Ties to keep the laughs coming.
Oh, no. What are we going to do? Everything's under control.
Then on Cheers, will Norm fink on a friend to get a promotion?
Yeah, yes, yes.
And the fun continues with Night Court. Thursday.
For over half a century, dairymen have tried to capture in cans the flavor of pure, fresh milk. And now Foremost has discovered the secret with an evaporated milk that's closest by far to fresh milk itself.
Kind of hard to believe, isn't it? An evaporated milk that doesn't have that old-fashioned evaporated milk taste. But it's true, and you can prove it. You know how most evaporated milks taste in coffee. The flavor goes flat. But try Foremost. You'll see it's white, the way milk ought to look, not drab tan like other brands. And when you taste it, well, if you're anything like me, you'll never even know it isn't pure, fresh cream. You try it and see. That's Foremost, the closest thing in cans to pure, fresh milk. Remember, your family gets the most from Foremost.
Coca-Cola, come on, girl, gotta share a Coke with you. Let the feeling show through. You wanna live a little bit more. That's what the taste of Coke is for. Coke is life. Everybody wants a little life. Coca-Cola, Coke is life.
special moments. Times of your life you'll want to remember in pictures.
Smile, Howard. Smile.
To help make those pictures look as good as they can, make sure Kodak paper is behind them. If you don't see these words, it isn't Kodak paper. Just look for this sign when you get your pictures. Kodak paper, for a good look at the times of your life.
Gee, wasn't that fun?
Come and get it. Come and get it.
Stop the confusion. Stop the confusion. Everybody wants to get into the act with Kellogg's Variety Pack. Buster wants the cornflakes, Pop wants a pep. Mama loves the Raisin Bran, Mama is hip. Sister loves Rice Krispies, and there's Uncle Jack. He loves Kellogg's shredded wheat. Kellogg's makes it fun to eat. Breakfast with Variety Pack. Okay, folks, there's your favorite individual box of cereal, fresh from Kellogg's Variety Pack, untouched by human hands, except your own. That don't mean you gotta eat with 'em. Each individual box comes to your FOD, fresh on delivery from Battle Creek, right to your own dish. Yeah, everybody wants to get into the act with Kellogg's Variety Pack. Yes, sir, Kellogg's Variety Pack.
Here comes the one, the delicious one. Heinz is the big rich one. There's only one ketchup with this flavor pouring on. So thick, so rich, so second to none.
Only one ketchup stands for this kind of thickness with this kind of taste. Heinz.
Heinz is the big rich one.
I love the rich, whole wheat goodness of Kellogg's Mini Wheats. But the delicious frosted side makes the rich kid in me open wide.
The nutritious shredded wheat helps keep me on my toes. But the little ballerina in me thinks the taste steals the show.
Man Wyatt has got it all for you.
Just listen to that!
At the Zone 105.9 and coming to you worldwide at thezone1059.com.
All right, back with you here on this Tuesday, a Reaction Tuesday. Sammy on the live stream, I can't get it to pull up for some reason. Let's try it again. Here we go. I can't get it. Sammy, for whatever reason, I can't get that comment to pop up there. But he said, who's going to win, Starkville or West Point? I don't know. I mean, what? West Point lost a 1-point ball game on Friday night. And we've seen years in the past where West Point might come out of the gates just a little slow, and by the end of the year, they're beating everybody. So, I don't know. I would think maybe advantage Starkville, but I don't know that much about them. Excited to see it, though. Will commented on YouTube, said, how about them Dogs? I know it's Eastern Kentucky, but the offense looked miles better than our best last year. It's true. Will, that's why I told you back in the spring, back in April, you could see their offense was better in April than it was at any point last fall. And for coaches who are making hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of a paycheck, there's just no excuse. And this bunch's got a clue for sure. Now, Lewis says, how about Isaac Smith? I love the safety spot with him being a run stopper, 11 tackles. Yeah, generally safety's making 11 tackles. You go, well, that means up front you weren't doing that well. It's just, I think some of that, Lewis, is a deal where that's just who Isaac Smith is. He is shot out of a cannon. He is all over the place. He's a really good safety. Now, people are going to watch film like Arizona. I promise you, Lewis, when you watch the game late Saturday night, remember I told you this on Tuesday, but Arizona State's watching film right now, and they're drawing up ways, trying to figure out ways to use Isaac Smith's aggressiveness in the run game against him with, play action stuff and maybe the flea flicker and get the safety coming all the way down and we throw a touchdown over his head, So I guarantee you they're drawing up ways to do that, play action stuff. And this is what's fun to me, too. You get into week 2, everybody talks about the improvement from teams one week to the next, but a lot of that improvement is coaching staffs, again, that as I said, these, $500,000 a year assistant coaches and all these analysts at the big programs have film of their opponent, 1 week old film of their opponent. And everybody starts breaking each other down, and they figure out little nuances and where is the weak spot and how do we pick on it. And that's always fun to me to see. Lewis also said Don Terry Russell has a unique ability, getting very skinny at the correct times. Hope he gets more snaps. He does. He's another one that's all over the place. Hard to block, very versatile, can rush off the edge, is good in coverage. Yep. Reed said, Hail State, get better soon. Well, thanks, Reed. I'm headed to the doctor here a little bit after the show. Sunday night, yesterday, I was downright awful. It's still not great today, but we're working. And, I don't know if they give me a shot in the butt or whatever it is this afternoon, but maybe I can get some help. But I appreciate it. Reed said, very impressed with our improvement. I think the offense is great, but because of minor issues allowed the state defense to play long and set up the score for EK. Yeah, that is one of those that it's hard. You can be picky and find things that state could have done better, or how it could have gone better, I guess I should say. But there's plenty for them to work on. And, I just think explosiveness on your defensive front, punch in the run game up front. Those are two things where state's going to have to be better when they run up against better teams, which starts this week. Hog Jowl texts the show. Man, Arkansas looked good, didn't they? Hog Jowl texts and says, Matt, we all know Arkansas Pine Bluff is a bad team with a lot less talent. But anytime a team scores 10 touchdowns on every possession in the game, that's hard to do. Well, now you're right about that. You're playing a live opponent and you execute with that kind of efficiency. It's a credit. And I'm going to touch on that in just a sec, Hog Jowl. When I get through reading your text, I got something that nobody's talking about that was a part of these non-conference games for SEC teams that played a big role for all the quarterbacks, and nobody's talking about it. I'm going to tell you what it is in just a second. Hog Jowl says the second half was cut to 10-minute quarters, or the score would have been worse. He said, I'm positive about Taylon Green. He's the Boise State transfer quarterback. Says, I think he may create problems for lots of defenses. I watched every play and realized after a few plays that it is definitely a Petrino run offense. We're going to see how they do next Saturday on the road at Oklahoma State. Signed, Go Hogs. Yeah, challenge steps up a bit, especially on defense next week. Green looked like the real deal. And Petrino, it's like you go, look, Petrino knows how to coach offense. And when he's freed up and all he's doing is coaching the offensive side of the ball, he can get them up and down the field. Like he's a really good offensive coach, and he does have some pieces. But let me tell you this, Hog Jowl, here's what nobody's thinking about. In all these games for SEC teams against FCS opponents, the SEC teams had communication in their helmet, coach to quarterback, and the FCS teams didn't. Now, the biggest reason that the scores were elevated to the degree that they were is because the SEC teams are more talented, okay? Because it's not like that's the first time we've seen it. But look at these scores. Again, when I say elevated, like we've seen a lot of opening weekends and a lot of teams playing FCS opponents or lesser opponents and a lot of, 35-7 and right. And occasionally the 45-3, we've seen that. But look at these scores. Missouri, Murray State, 51-0. Arkansas versus Pine Bluff, 70-0. Oklahoma beat Temple, 51-3. I don't guess that counts. Here's Alabama versus Western Kentucky, 63-0. Ole Miss versus Furman, 76-0. Tennessee versus Chattanooga, 69-3. State, Eastern Kentucky, 56-7. Auburn versus Alabama A&M, 73-3. Texas, Colorado State, Colorado State's power 5, but still 52-0 in that game. And then Kentucky and Southern Miss, 31-0 before they called it off. And Kentucky could have scored 70 in that game if they had wanted to, and they got to play it. But these points totals, while pitching shutouts, are giving up a field goal. 51-0, 70-0, 51-3, 63-0, 76-0, 69-3, 56-7, 73-3. Here's what they're not talking about. 𝐷𝐤𝐬𝐬, all these SEC quarterbacks this weekend playing FCS teams, on the FCS side, they don't have the in-helmet communication from coach to player. And meanwhile, Arkansas's quarterback, right up until the time he snaps the ball, right before the ball comes to him, whether it's Petrino or whoever it is, can say to him on the radio in his helmet, one-on-one backside, take it. Tight end, seam, take it. I mean, hey, check inside zone. Really? I mean, they can tell them what to do and what side to read. I know that doesn't automatically translate into scoring 70 points, but it absolutely does translate into making the right read more often. You know, whether State and Levy's on the sideline. Right up until the time the ball comes back to Shapen, Levy's free to tell him, right up until the time the ball comes back in these non-conference games, he can say, now whether it's reported or not, he can say, backside combo, read the backside combo. Single in the boundary, singled up in the boundary. And if I'm the quarterback and before I get the ball and I'm reading it, I already got an idea. But if I hear my coach in my ear say one-on-one in the boundary, I know where I'm going with it. And those other teams don't have that. So it's may seem like a small thing, but I think that could be the difference in 2 more touchdowns in the ball game for all these teams. I really do. Jason out in Flagstaff texts the show. He says, I didn't get to watch much of the State game, listen to it all, but I can't recall anyone talking about the offensive line looking lost at the snap, which was an absolute disease last year. That's a start. Jason, yeah, I'm going to go back and watch it again and really focus on the O-line, but that's my takeaway too, is they were not lost. They were efficient. Really the only mistakes, there was one mistake in pass pro really the whole game. While Shapen was in there was, I'm sure there was some missed assignments in run game stuff, but it wasn't blatant. You didn't have people going the wrong way. You had no false starts. You had only 2 times was where the tackle, he just got too much depth in his stance where they counted his back foot in the backfield, and so they called him, pre-snap. But they're well coached on offense. They have more than a clue on the offensive side of the ball. This is fun, y'all. I really appreciate you so much. All the comments, all the texts. As you can tell, I haven't gotten all the comments, but I'm coming to you from Lewis and Will on the live stream and Hail State fan. Text coming up, Rebel Greg, Norman, and TJ. Y'all stick around. Hour 2 is coming up right after this.
I was born and raised in Greenville. I've always called Greenville home. This is where I, was raised, went to high school, graduated high school, worked all my life here, leading up to going to college. So even when I moved from Greenville, I always told people, they asked me where you're from, I always said I'm from Greenville. I have mother, father, brother, niece, aunt, all live here in Greenville. So this is home. This is where I, live, and I've just always called it home. Small town, I feel like I could walk in any place tomorrow and know 2 to 3 people in there. It's small town. Someone's on the side of the road broken down. Hey, you need a boost, flat tire, you need help changing it. That's just kind of, what I love about this area. The blues and the food and everything that comes along with the Mississippi Delta that I love. I tell people all the time, my business cards have my cell phone number on them for a reason. Insurance doesn't happen from 8 to 5. When you need me, it's going to be after 5. It hardly ever happens where you have a wreck, get pulled over, need an insurance card, wind blows, shingles off your roof. All these things happen, and it's typically after 5. And so the ability for someone to call me, get in contact with me, text me, ask me a question, and that's what it's about to me, is helping the people that we serve, is taking care of people, and them knowing that they can count on me whenever they need me. I am Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
Y'all have heard me talk about Murray West and MurrayWest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. When I say they do quality stuff, they really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, MurrayWest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough. If you need your logo printed, embroidered, sewn on to anything, custom apparel and other stuff, make sure you go there. Murray West, you can find them online. MurrayWest.com. That's MURRY West.com.
Today's game from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Time was, their breakfasts were gloomy. They just didn't feel right, and they didn't know a delicious cereal could help their sad plight. So they tried this and tried that, but irregularity kept coming back all the same. For as often the case, lack of bulk in their diet was actually to blame. Once at the grocer's, the wife was so drooping and sagging that a neighbor said, "Get on Kellogg's All-Bran wagon. Why, All-Bran has a flavor that's scrumptious to eat. So rich and nut-like, makes breakfast a treat. And of course, Kellogg's All-Bran can help you each day to youthful regularity, the dietary way." "Well, it might do some good," said the wife with a sigh. "Guess I'll get some All-Bran and give it a try." Soon, breakfasts at her house were happy and bright, for delicious Kellogg's All-Bran set their day off right. Yes, All-Bran supplies all the bulk in your diet, you see.
that you may need for youthful regularity. And no half-brand cereal possibly can provide this help as surely as Kellogg's All-Brand. A delicious,
Direct and live at the Zone 105.9 and worldwide.
Now, here we go.
At the Zone 105.9.com.
All right, here we go. Back with you. Hour number 2. Off and running with you on this Reaction Tuesday instead of a Reaction Monday. I'm Matt in the Bureau. Hope y'all enjoyed a long weekend, Labor Day weekend. I'm here. Beaver's here. And thank goodness you're here. I appreciate all the texts and the feedback and phone calls. Got to hear from Andre in the first hour on the phone. Today's the day I need you. I'm under the weather. Pretty significantly still, but we're making it through it. Got an hour to go here, and then a little doctor visit this afternoon. Started really for me Sunday night, whatever it was, came down with it then, and yesterday was pretty miserable. We were actually planning on being on the air with you yesterday and have a real Reaction Monday on Labor Day, but it took me out. But glad to be with you here today. And so all the texts and all the comments and the phone calls are a humongous help for me, who, anyway, I just appreciate it. And so let's get into some of that now. You can comment on the live stream if you're on Facebook or YouTube or X, however you're watching. Will commented and said, if you're the tech coach, this would be Tennessee Tech. Somebody had a question and said, hey, if you're the Tennessee Tech coach, what do you tell your players going into Georgia on Saturday? He said, if you're the Tech coach, you tell them to give it your all. That more than any other game this season, this is their chance to catch the eye of NFL scouts. It sure is. Yeah, go in there and shoot your shot. Don't be intimidated. They're the same age as you. And, they got good players and ranked number 1. But you're kind of doing the wrong thing if you get intimidated or afraid. Go in there and fly around. Let it rip. See what happens. Play ball. I agree. Will said, I truly wish Kevin Barbay the best, so I hope he gets things figured out at Houston. Said, I sure don't miss him here, though. Yeah, and I thought I saw where Houston kind of struggled this weekend on offense out there. Brad commented on Facebook and said the communications to the QB hasn't seemed to help DJ at Florida State. Yeah, and, I talked about that earlier. Florida State, they just hadn't looked great to me. And it's easy to say they've lost 2, but what I'm saying is maybe not so much in that game against Georgia Tech, and they were playing in a little bit of a different climate. I know they practice at home in Tallahassee where it's really hot, but Boston College looked like they were in better physical condition than Florida State. Like BC never seemed to get tired in the game. Florida State did. And on DJ, big, strong, he makes some throws every now and then. You go, oh, okay. There's an example of why they like him, because he can really zing it around, make that far side comeback throw on a rope and arm strength, all that kind of stuff. But he's also somebody, whether it's him or what, I don't know, but somebody has really failed to work with him and drill him fundamentally, I think. His feet, some of that could be because of pressure or the idea of pressure, but his feet get out of whack. And big guys who have a long release, he's got that really elongated release, which automatically hurts him on the short throws. He doesn't throw a really tight spiral and a catchable ball often. And so if that's the way you are, you can't drill it. If you're not going to throw spirals, you can't drill it or throw it late. It's got to be early and soft and catchable, and they're kind of the opposite. And on the other side, like his feet are never the same. And big guys with that long release, your accuracy comes from your feet being in the right position all the time. And so that his aren't, and it leads to inaccuracy. That's why on one throw you go, wow. And then on the next throw you go, how you miss that? How do you miss it that bad? Nobody tipped it, did they? And so I think, I don't know, it just looks to me like It's almost like I feel guilty saying this out loud because I haven't seen it with my own eyes. I have not been anywhere near a Florida State football practice. But it's almost like they aren't quite prepared physically. Like somebody's been easy on them. I'm just being real. That's the way it looks to me. And who knows? I mean, in an era where you're paying all the players, who knows? You may not have as much license as a coach to really coach them hard. I don't know. Different places are different. Rebel Greg on the Country Pleasing text line. You can text me at 885-3776, a 601 number, 885-3776, or 885-ESPN. Greg says, let's not forget these teams getting blown out are receiving a pretty good paycheck to help their athletic funding. Yeah, they really are, Greg. Did you see the comment that was floating around by Will Hall, the head coach at Southern Miss? I think it was a part of their press conference or something this week where they're asking him about finishing that game versus them cutting it off. And he was like, I'm just going to be real. I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically said, I'm just going to be real with you. We were for whatever it took to make sure we got that check. I mean, that's what he said, to get the check. Meaning, you want to call it a complete game and we're at 31-0 and it's late and it's lightning and all this, and if you want to call it complete, fine, but you tell me it's complete, meaning we still get the check. He said, because that's the position we're in, is we have to have that check. He just came right out and said it. Dog Tired in Florence said, do you think the 2 fumbles South Carolina defense recovered inside the 10 for 14 points to beat Old Dominion by 4 is a reason for concern, 23-19? Well, yeah, I would say that, but one is it's so early in the year, Dog Tired. I've seen teams like South Carolina in the past that would struggle with an in-state non-conference opponent. What, Old Dominion, they're in South Carolina, right? You know, a few years ago, didn't South Carolina lose to the Citadel? So I don't know. I don't know much details about their game, but that game, there's part of me that's like, you don't apologize for winning. It's not, Old Dominion is a better team and opponent than, say, Furman or Eastern Kentucky. Okay, that's a fact. But in, terms of being concerned, I would think, but again, it wouldn't be the first time we'd see it. If they go on and have a really good year, it wouldn't be the first time that somebody struggled with an in-state non-con early in the year, and then by the end of the year they're playing good football. So I don't. It's almost like I'm saying it feels like maybe it's a little too early to be concerned about a win. So we'll see. Norman says, Matt, I don't know what Wyoming has, but Arizona State only giving up just over 100 total yards is strong, and State better be able to pressure their quarterback too. Quarterback pressure was non-existent almost on Saturday. Yeah, I think you're on to something, Norman. I kind of, that's one thing I came away from the game thinking, okay, State's got to, going forward, they got to jack it up another notch on a defensive front for the most part. They did a pretty good job against the run. And the best thing that State did on defensive front was they came up big and made plays on, 3rd and short and 4th and short plays. Let me look at it. Now, this would be the whole game, so it'd be the 4th quarter included. I could probably look this up for the first 3 quarters, which is primarily what your starters played. But see, Eastern Kentucky, they were 8 of 20 on 3rd down, but they were 0 of 3 on 4th down. I think that was the best. Those critical downs, State's defensive front was good. It probably played their best run defense in those critical downs, and that was good. But credited with 2 sacks on the game, you would like more. Now, let's see, Eastern Kentucky had 38 pass attempts and 38 rushing attempts, so they were dead even in terms of how they called it. So in 38 pass attempts, sure, you would love to look up and have more than 2 sacks. 5, you're credited with 5 quarterback hits, but like I said, 2 of those were one player, so they are going to have to get after their quarterback. And it is much steeper challenge. It just is. Okay, and so I got fact checkers. I always need it. Will says Old Dominion is from Norfolk, Virginia, not South Carolina. Says, but they're better than a lot of teams. Yeah. Tyler also pointed that out. They're in Virginia. And Will said they are FBS. And that's what I'm saying. It's a better team than what some of these others played. David in Brandon text the show. He said, hey, Matt, I'm not sure if you've mentioned this. I'm an Ole Miss fan, but as an SEC fan, how about Vandy? I know, man. That was a great win on their part. You know, and at one point, I was not able to watch the game, like sit in front of it and watch it, but I kept tracking it. I looked at the score, and I was traveling to Starkville at that time. And then when I got to the press box, David, I stopped and watched some of the plays on the TVs in the press box and everything. Then I come back to it between responsibilities, and it was one of those. At one point, I thought, okay, Vandy's going to Vandy this thing because they were up 17-3. I guess I could look it up and be exact. In fact, I will. I know Vandy was up 17-3 at halftime, and then got outscored in the third and early part of the fourth quarter, 24-3. Okay, and so found themselves down 27-20, right? So Virginia Tech was able to go on a 24-3 run after Vandy built that lead. And I thought, okay, here we go. But they scored in the fourth quarter. You get it to overtime and win it in OT. And the quarterback who transferred there, Pavia. Last year I was saying Pavia, but they're saying Pavia. He is a heck of a player. He transferred from New Mexico State. That he was the quarterback for New Mexico State when they went into Auburn and won last year, and he just played lights out against Auburn last year. Made play after play. It was just fun to watch. He could do everything. He was tough, gritty. He's not huge. He's not fast, but it's just like he makes the plays, and he did that the other day. So for Vandy, he had, I'm going to look at the passing stats, but he ran the ball 26 times for 104 yards and a touchdown run. And throwing the ball, he was 12 of 16 for 2 TDs. So a player like that can really, really change the outlook on their season. Good for them. Bulldog Blitz text the show. Let's see. He said, have you watched any of the Brandon Picayune game? Brandon has some serious sophomore talent. Yeah, Brandon whipped them, didn't they? It was a final on that, Blitz. I caught the score briefly the other night. Yeah, and I appreciate the note about Lauren. Yeah, I really enjoyed getting to hang out with Paul and see Trip. And Lauren was texting me Friday when we were on the show there, or Thursday, as it were, up at Madison St. Joseph, but I didn't get to see Lauren, but she was texting me. Oh, it was 60-34. I mean, Brandon. So they just whip and shut out West Point in their jamboree and opened the season putting up 60 on Picayune. I think Brandon's for real. Tanner texts the show. Said Arkansas didn't have any issue with their in-state opponent. Yeah, that's right. They didn't. They look great. Jason in Flagstaff said regarding DJ 𝐌𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐢, he didn't exactly light it up at Oregon State in games that mattered either. To be fair, talking about DJ 𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷 Yeah, I got it. Yeah, that's it. I mean, a big-time recruit, you can see. I can look at him and tell, why as a prospect, people went, ooh, wow. Big, heavy, strong, and every now and then he'll make a throw, and you go, okay, I see it. I see what they mean. But he has not, and I have to believe that, one, being a 5-star coming out, sometimes it's probably hard to coach those guys, maybe. 2, he's at his, third school now in a short amount of time, so a bunch of different coaches, and he needs to go to boot camp on the fundamentals and footwork and mechanics of operating the pocket and throwing and getting your body lined up and throwing with your feet, which leads to accuracy. And he looks to me like a guy who's kind of relying on that big, strong arm. And so sometimes it looks great, and then sometimes it looks awful. Somebody texted and said, Matt, do you think that MSU could be similar to the first year of Kiffin's first year at Ole Miss? They didn't win many games but scored a lot of points and were in a few ball games that they shouldn't have been. Yeah, I mean, it very well could be the case. It very well could be the case. It's it's early. You're one game out of the chute. The best thing about State's game the other night was, getting into the second half and getting Shapen out of there, having the game in a position where you could just get him out of there and not have him out there in the fourth quarter, and play everybody. I mean, they were playing freshmen all over the place, and those kids were playing well too. I tell you, one that stood out to me was when he got in the game in the second half was this defensive end, Joseph Head, who, on the I think they've got him wearing number 46. It's either 46 or 48. I think it's 46. I'm still learning all that. But he, freshman out of high school, on the field, he does not look huge, okay? But he's listed at 6'4", 240. He's from Holmes County Central, red shirt. And he stood some people up and moved them around. Like, again, not huge when he's on the on the line of scrimmage against the big offensive lineman that's 6'6", 300 pounds, but for 6'4", 240, really active, strong enough, and around the football. And I thought, he was just one of these young guys. You watch him and go, okay, he's a future player for sure. No question about it. Lewis, yes, he says, I just want to get Craver's name in the chat. The kid is fast and can play ball. My new favorite Bulldog. Wears number 7 for State. He had, I know, 1 touchdown in the game. Let me see what the final stats were for him, if I can get it to pull up here. Receiving, he had 1 catch. Okay, the 154-yard touchdown catch. They targeted him twice, and the 154-yard bomb. Talking about his speed, State has definitely improved from a speed standpoint, especially in the offensive side of the ball. Like they're going to give people fits because they're not just out there coached well, they can run. And he's one of them, right? Freshman from Birmingham. That go ball that he caught for a touchdown, he beat the corner. He was behind the corner so far that Shapen actually underthrew it a little bit. You go back and watch it. He caught it. I think they credited him for catching it at the 6. It was somewhere around the 6, 7, or 8. And then he ran it in from there, so he gets 6 yards after the catch. But he had to slow down and kind of wait on the football. That's how far out there he was. And that's the kind of thing that an opposing coach like Arizona State watching the film, they'll watch it and go, okay, like this is real speed right here, where, truly, if he's even, he's leaving, he's going to run by us if we're not running step for step downhill with him. And a quarterback can really put it out there and just trust him to go run under it. And so, yeah, just gives you another weapon. And a freshman, right? That's good. JS290 said, was Woody Marks a graduate transfer? I don't know I think he was. I think he's on his master's. I think he's working on his master's. Yeah. I was really proud for Woody. And man, let me tell you something. A couple things about that. That quarterback for USC is the real deal. Okay. The USC defense impressed me with how physical they were. Even though I think LSU was a little bigger. Okay. But they impressed me how physical they were. Also, after the game, Brian Kelly said that USC's quarterback outplayed his quarterback, meaning Nussmeier. And I don't really know about that. I thought Nussmeier played pretty well and really made some plays in the game. I mean, I thought he was really, especially early in the game, he was really good. He goes 29 of 38, 304, 2 touchdowns. He did have the 1 interception. But the thing to me is I was watching it thinking, if you're Brian Kelly, how are you going to blame anybody else for that game when you would not stick with running the football? I mean, once John Emery Jr. got going, he had 10 carries for 61 yards. Well, 10 carries for a guy that's averaging 6 yards a carry is nowhere near enough in that ball game. And it got to a point where, like, they were really confident blocking for him, and you got to ride that a little bit more. And they just kept getting away from it. You know, it's like they just wanted to have the big throw and highlight those receivers or whatever. So that was a mistake. And then after the game for Brian Kelly to, one, call out his quarterback, and then two, this fake contrived emotion. It was totally fake. Y'all see that in the post game where he took his fist and he slammed the table in the media room and says, "Here we sit again, a game we didn't finish." And it's like watching Roger Clemens before Congress. You know, when it's obviously fake, everybody can tell it's fake. Like, you're fooling no one. Like, so what's the point of faking some emotion for me in the post-game press conference? Like, it's totally contrived. I think what I tweeted was that his emotion in the postgame was as genuine as that accent he tried to use in the basketball game that time on the microphone. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, why would you do that? And I really could argue that some of the coaching decisions in the game were just as big a deal, like not running the ball more with that big running back. But USC is really good. I mean, they are. That quarterback's a real deal now. And say what you want, but the durability and consistency of Woody Marks in that game running the ball was a huge reason why they were able to win it. 16 carries, 68 yards, 2 touchdowns, had a long carry of 17, but Woody's the kind of guy that he won't go away. You know, he keeps coming back. All right. Rolling along with you on this Tuesday. Stick around.
Today's game from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Time was their breakfasts were gloomy. They just didn't feel right, and they didn't know a delicious cereal could help their sad plight. So they tried this and tried that, but irregularity kept coming back all the same. For as often the case, lack of bulk in their diet was actually to blame. Once at the grocer's, the wife was so drooping and sagging that a neighbor said, "Get on Kellogg's All-Bran wagon. Why, All-Bran has a flavor that's scrumptious to eat. So rich and nut-like, makes breakfast a treat. And of course, Kellogg's All-Bran can help you each day to youthful regularity, the dietary way." "Well, it might do some good," said the wife with a sigh. "Guess I'll get some All-Bran and give it a try." Soon, breakfasts at her house were happy and bright, for delicious Kellogg's All-Bran set their day off right. Yes, All-Bran supplies all the bulk in your diet, you see, that you may need for youthful regularity. And no half-brand cereal possibly can provide this help as surely as Kellogg's All-Bran. A delicious, non-habit-forming aid to your diet. You're sure to like All-Bran. Just buy it and try it.
Get on the Kellogg's All-Bran wagon with the best bran in the land. The cereal that tastes bran, the cereal that's All-Bran, a breakfast treat that can't be beat. Be a regular guy and climb aboard the All-Bran wagon. Eat Kellogg's All-Bran.
What is the secret of this enchanted book? What wonders are hidden within its pages? What magical spell does it cast on all who read it? What is the secret of the never-ending story?
But that's impossible!
Enter a world where a young boy's imagination becomes a vivid reality. The world of Atreyu and Artax, the Rockbiter, and a good and kind gnome. A world that is vast and eternal, treacherous and dazzling, unforgettable and free. For anyone who's ever made a wish, believed in a fantasy, or had a dream, this is the never-ending story.
It's a new thing. It's a fun thing. It's a swing wing. It's a what? It's a swing wing. It's a wing wing. A brand new transparent fun thing. It's a what? It's a swing wing. A fun thing. And now it's your favorite store thing. It's a what?
Mazda announces some great news for truck buyers. Right now, you can beat the already outstanding value of the $67.95 Mazda SE5. Introducing Mazda SE.
Losing again. You're going to hear about them all and get to talk about it with Matt Wyatt right here, right now on the Zone 105.9 and worldwide at thezone1059.com.
All right, back with you. I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team. A little under the weather today, but hanging in there with you. Hail State fan on the live stream said, Matt, you were correct on the broadcast when you compared Coleman to Prentice. What an advantage when you have a threat every time he touches the ball. You know, credit where credit's due. I think that was Charlie maybe in the postgame Hail State fan who said that when we were trying to – but I can't remember. It could have been Jay on the sideline. Somebody brought up that saying, I'm trying to think when's the last time we had a guy like that. And somebody mentioned Kevin Prentice. And I probably agree with that because I think that is a pretty, just, you know, based on watching him return punts for one ball game, and play receiver, pretty close. Coleman is probably a little bigger than Kevin was, but, you know, Kevin was so unbelievably shifty and fast and quick and you just blink and he's full speed. He needed no ramp up whatsoever. Kevin had 2 gears, standing still and 5th gear flying. You didn't need to shift from first to second to third. And I think Coleman's that way too. I think it's a pretty good comparison. It's good to see that. You know, he's one that you feel like you've got to keep him healthy throughout the year. But if you can do that and add a piece of Akari back in there and you got these others and, you know, it's so refreshing to watch a team that is coached really hard. Your staff is, and the coaching staff has done everything they can do, offense and special teams, to figure out a way to get the ball in the hands of people that need it in their hands. And, even little reverse flip to Creed that went for a score, which was awesome to see. Bulldog Blitz texted the show. He said, I thought that Eastern Kentucky quarterback was pretty dang good. Well, you know, he wasn't bad. He was obviously on a team that was, you know, he was kind of getting overwhelmed a little bit. He went 22 of 38, so 58%. He had the 1 touchdown and the 1 interception at the end. State showed him one thing, and I think he made his mind up before the play. He was going to throw that out route, assuming that State was going to drop in that cover 3 with a safety in the middle of the field with a soft corner. But instead, they kept the corners up and dropped the strong safety and the nickel safety into those other deep thirds. And so the corner was just sitting out there staying in the zone, and he couldn't see him, I don't think. He was just assuming the out route was open. He just threw it right to State's corner, who picked it and took it to the house. But he wasn't bad. You know, and Marcy was a good player on a bad team last year at that Western Illinois, but he was an honorable mention all-conference for them in 1 year as a starter. So he's a big kid and showed some toughness in the game. So, yeah. But I would say that probably the stat of the game for them, State held them to under 200 yards passing. They really got most of that on one drive, it seemed like, or a lot of it, a good chunk of it on one drive before the half. But the only real negative, I would think, is that Eastern Kentucky had 2 running backs that went for over 70 yards rushing. The one guy had 19 carries for 75. That's a 3.9 yard average. The other one, Latham, had 14 for 71, and that's a 5 yard average. So that's not, that's, again, big blowout win, but the kind of things that a coach will come out of a game and just hammer at the players to get them back down to earth and make sure they don't think they're better than they are. This week, 2 rushers over 70 yards playing Eastern Kentucky, I guarantee you your defensive front 7 have not heard the end of it from coaching staff in meetings. I guarantee you they were hearing it when the game was over. So, and they're hammering it. And so there will be a huge emphasis on that this week because you're watching a film of an Arizona State team that they've improved. They're a little bigger. They played really physical the other night, and you'll see as you kind of continue to study Arizona State this week, they're very multiple and pro-style at times on the offensive side of the ball. They will go under center. They will use 2 tight ends. They will, they'll run. They'll even go what looks like I with an H-back. Power runs, not just zone stuff, but I'm talking pull a guard and, a tackle from one side to the other, block back and power up one side and ISO some, a lot of play action off of it. They will put their quarterback on the move. Well, boots and waggles, which I giggle because 30 years ago, how many years ago was that? 30 years ago. It was the 90s. Okay. So 30 years ago, everybody was boots and waggles. Bootleg, off play action, waggles, naked. The bootleg was naked. You didn't have a blocker. Waggle was a little play action where you come off of the fake and roll out, but you got a blocker in front so that you didn't, as a quarterback, turn your head and get ear-holed by an unblocked defensive end or something. But they do some of that stuff. But they're multiple. They're getting a shotgun, throw it around too. So I think, it's probably something being emphasized this week for State's defense is, man, they ran the ball on us a little bit. And if you don't think Arizona State's licking their chops and run the ball at you, you better get ready. And they will. They'll run it with some success. State's going to have to, score points. And Jason in Flagstaff, he's talking about Brian Kelly at LSU. He said, Kelly's a goof, but LSU's insistence on not playing butt crack State in game 1, like almost everyone else, should be commended. They've opened 6 or 7 straight years against legit competition. Yeah, that's right. They have done that. They've lost their fair share of them too. And I guess, here it is. It's a really good USC team. It's not like they looked bad like Florida State did. One loss at the beginning, and LSU is in no way, shape, form, or fashion eliminated from the playoff conversation. B-Dog 2 texts the show. He says, I missed the first hour, so you may have already discussed, but I listened to the Arizona State coach previewing the game against Mississippi State. They are promoting the game as a great opportunity for them to beat an SEC team for the first time ever and hoping for a student attendance record at this game. Yeah, and I would think that they will get it, right? Because those people out there, if you look up Tempe, Arizona, they are dealing with like unbelievable heat and high temperatures out there. And so it's going to be an 8 p.m. kickoff for them, which is by design, because I think at 8 p.m. Saturday night, it's going to be about, maybe 86 degrees, 87, which is bearable. It'll be 10 p.m. here. But during the day out there this week on like Thursday and Friday and Saturday, the high temperatures are up in the 110s. Okay. Tomorrow in Tempe, Arizona, the high is 110. Thursday, the high is 113. Friday, the high is 111. Saturday, the day of the game, the high is 108. But like you say, by the time 8 p.m. rolls around, it gets dark, it's going to cool down in the 80s. So all I'm saying is those people out there are going to be looking forward to a late night game, SEC team in town. And they had the big win. They had a good crowd for week one, and they had the big win and played well. So there's some excitement on their side for sure. So State's walking into a little bit of a hornet's nest. They're going to have to play well if they want to win it for sure. Let's see. Will says, lost their fair share. He says, Matt, LSU is cursed in week one. 2020, week one, lost to State. 2021, week one, lost to UCLA. 2022, week one, lost to Florida State. Last year, week one, lost to Florida State. Now, 2024, lost to USC. Yep. And that's to Jason's point. They've been playing good teams in week one. You know, to their credit, they've been playing good teams. Hey, did y'all happen to watch College Game Day? All right, full. All right, I'm going to admit it here. Okay, I'm going to admit it. I watched College Game Day, a portion of College Game Day for the first time in years. I don't know why. You know, this was different. I can't explain it. I think what it was is at one point, I knew I was going to be gone that night to our game at State. So Anna Beth was sitting on the couch in the living room and she had Game Day on. And so I sat down and I want to spend some time with her. And I'm not someone I have to dominate the TV. Whatever's on's fine, whatever. So she had Game Day on. I thought, okay, I'm going to check this out. And the reason I was going to check it out is because Saban was up there on the desk on Game Day. And you know what? I watched a little, and they do this and they do that. And each time it would come back around to Saban, I found myself interested in what it is he was saying because I know he's not BSing me about these games. So I enjoyed Saban. Well, then they had the thing where the kid made the kick in the tailgate area for $50,000. So I stuck around for that. And then I stayed for the end when Corso came out, dressed up like a leprechaun. And I really enjoyed that. And I found myself, I thought, you know what? Because of Nick Saban, Game Day might have pulled me back in. I actually enjoyed it. And McAfee kind of steals Herb Street's thunder and airtime, which makes the show more interesting. I actually kind of enjoyed it. And what did y'all think? A little bit of time left with you when we come back. Stick around.
Today's game from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Time was, their breakfasts were gloomy. They just didn't feel right, and they didn't know a delicious cereal could help their sad plight. So they tried this and tried that, but irregularity kept coming back all the same. For as often the case, lack of bulk in their diet was actually to blame. Once at the grocer's, the wife was so drooping and sagging that a neighbor said, "Get on Kellogg's All-Bran wagon. Why, All-Bran has a flavor that's scrumptious to eat. So rich and nut-like, makes breakfast a treat. And of course, Kellogg's All-Bran can help you each day to youthful regularity, the dietary way." "Well, it might do some good," said the wife with a sigh. "Guess I'll get some All-Bran and give it a try." Soon, breakfasts at her house were happy and bright, for delicious Kellogg's All-Bran set their day off right. Yes, All-Bran supplies all the bulk in your diet, you see, that you may need for youthful regularity. And no half-brand cereal possibly can provide this help as surely as Kellogg's All-Bran. A delicious, non-habit-forming aid to your diet. You're sure to like All Brand. Just buy it and try it.
Get on the Kellogg's All Bran wagon with the best bran in the land. The cereal that tastes grand, the cereal that's all bran, a breakfast treat that can't be beat. Be a regular guy and climb aboard the All Bran wagon. Eat Kellogg's All Bran.
What is the secret of this enchanted book? What wonders are hidden within its pages? What magical spell does it cast on all who read it? What is the secret of the never-ending story?
But that's impossible!
You will enter a world where a young boy's imagination becomes a vivid reality. The world of Atreyu and Artax, the Rockbiter, and a good and kind gnome. A world that is vast and eternal, treacherous and dazzling, unforgettable and free. For anyone who's ever made a wish, believed in a fantasy, or had a dream, this is the never-ending story.
It's a new thing. It's a fun thing. It's a swing wing. It's a what? It's a swing wing. It's a wing wing. A brand new grand fun thing. It's a what? It's a swing wing. A fun thing. And now it's your favorite store thing. It's a what?
Mazda announces some great news for truck buyers. Right now, you can beat the already outstanding value of the $67.95 Mazda SE5. Introducing Mazda SE5.
Come.
All right, back with you. A little bit of time left here on this Tuesday. I'm Matt in the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio, and I really do appreciate y'all today. And this has been so much smoother of a radio show because of all your comments and your texts, being a part of the show. I'm still pretty sick. Yesterday, I was really down and out. Sunday night, it hit me, and then yesterday, it was awful. Today, not a whole lot better. I'm going to go to the doctor here a little bit later and make sure I don't have something that I can spread around to other people and see what I got to do to get healed up before we have to travel this weekend. But we made it, and I'm making it through because of you. And because I'm connected to you because of C-Spire, the #1 network in Mississippi. C-Spire, customer inspired. Check them out at cspire.com. Thibodeau has texted me. And, yeah, I called it Boots and Waggles and the Naked Bootleg, but he said, Matt, it's pronounced Naked Bootleg. Naked. Hey, speaking of Thibodeau, he did it right this weekend. He tagged me on Facebook. I got to see it. And he kind of gave me several updates along the way, the process. First, I got to see pictures of the ingredients that were going into his red beans and rice meal. And then all the way through, and then the cooking part, and then the finished product. Yesterday, country pleasing andouille in the beans, spiral cut grilled country pleasing original on top of that. It was so good. He says, I've been a country pleasing customer for over 25 years. I exclusively buy and use their sausage in every recipe that calls for sausage. He says, and that's a lot of recipes. And man, boy, did it ever look good. I got it right, don't I, Thibodeau? Red beans and rice with andouille in there. Some green onions sprinkled on top of it. The original smoked sausage, spiral cut, sitting on there with some jalapeno. Texas toast on the side. Whew. I have been sure enough under the weather, and I ain't had any appetite, but that is about to wake up my appetite. Thibodeau, I appreciate that. I wanted you to know I got it. I appreciate you. Glad, and thanks for tagging Henry in there also. All right. More text messages. Jay, my man Jay texted in and said, McAfee and Saban are the perfect contradiction of life. That's a good way to look at it. Mm-hmm. Kind of like you and Neil, ain't it, Jay? You and Neil, the perfect contradiction of life. That's true. Kenny Don't Call Me Ken texts the show, and he says, if you're driving to Arizona and need a co-pilot, holla. Well, see, that's the thing about it, Kenny. I don't think I'm going to drive. Okay, and I was talking about this in the first hour. I think I learned this weekend that the team, instead of traveling on Friday and then playing on Saturday, they're actually going to travel on Thursday, have an extra day to acclimate and get used to it and get ready. So the team's actually traveling on Thursday, team playing, which is, maybe what I'm going to be on. But first thing I got to do is get to the doctor and make sure I don't have something contagious that I could spread, because that's the last thing they need. And so I don't know. It's kind of up in the air for me right now. All right, let's see. What'd you send me? Somebody sent me a Bleacher Report link. Viral clip of McAfee and Saban. Oh, yeah, I saw that, where it was like during a commercial break, wasn't it? And Saban was just sitting there kind of stone-faced, like, what is this guy doing? And McAfee was in his own world, sort of dancing to the music that was being played. And, I saw that. Dennis, formerly of Omaha, texts the show. Country Please in text line. He says, hey, brother, if you were planning to drive to Arizona State game this weekend, shouldn't you be on the road already? That's about right. That's it. I think like the team bus and the equipment truck stuff, they're already gone. They're on the way as we speak. It'll take them a couple of days to get there. White Denzel texts the show, and he said, McAfee and Saban are the duo that has lit a fire under College game day. I kind of feel that way too, Denzel. Again, I have not watched it in years. I had no reason to. I say years. It's probably been 5 years since I sat down and watched it, because something happened along the way where I went, this is a complete and utter waste of time. And it was boring, and there wasn't enough football. I just quit on it, and we've talked about it here. And so when I sat down the other day, it's like because Saban is on there, they spend a little more time on him in football, which is really interesting to hear him talk about the teams, okay, because he's shooting you straight on it. McAfee is so wild that it's kind of entertaining, to watch the two things juxtaposed against each other. I really did enjoy, though, like they went out there and they had the kid trying to kick for 25,000, he missed, and they let him try another one for 50, and he made it in the celebration. I thought that I enjoyed watching that. And when they got to Corso at the end, and it's like all those things I talked about, the combination of Saban and McAfee sort of take time and focus away from Herb Street, and God bless him, he's been there forever, but Lord, he's boring. It's like when Herb Street's talking, it's like paint drying on a wall. And the same thing when he's calling a game. And I'm glad he's got the job, and great and wonderful. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but Lord, it's boring. And so it's just, I enjoyed the show, is all I'm saying. And Saban's what got me over there. I probably would feel different if Saban wasn't on there. Jason out in Arizona said, yep. He says, I have no interest in going to Phoenix. He said, I'd love to watch State, but I hate going to that metro area. The concrete is just stifling down there. Rarely gets below 95 before midnight, not counting blowing dust. And then he mentioned the traffic and all the nutballs around it. Can't make me laugh, Jason. I can start coughing. David and Brandon text the show. He says, what's it called? SEC Now? He said, whatever the SEC show is called that is on at the same time as game day is way better. He says, with Tebow and those guys. Well, I've never felt that way. I don't know that I've ever watched it. I don't know much about it, and I didn't see any of it the other day. But, it's like if they're on at the same time, which are you going to do, you know? Like, you go, how you watch both? I can't watch both. Or I can't figure out how to watch both. So, I don't know. But I liked game day. I didn't think I would. I watched it begrudgingly. See, Annabeth likes all those things. And she likes game day. She likes Saban. And she really does get a kick out of McAfee. And I know can be real crass and all, but you can take him in certain doses. But he is wild. I mean, he really is. And Corso, man, bless his heart, he's like Biden. He don't know what he's saying. But he don't know. The other day, they let Corso come out there and do a few picks at the end of the show. And he was like calling teams the wrong name and getting it all mixed up, and they just put up with it and move on to the next thing. It's like, whatever. But then when he picked Notre Dame, he came out dressed up like a leprechaun. See, and the Notre Dame mascot had him by the arm and was helping him out there, right? Because, you know, but he was having such a good time, big smile on his face, and he was doing a little dancing around, and they held him by the arm because I was thinking, I said that out loud, don't let him go, because if you do, he's going to fall and bust it on live TV. And, yeah, so I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. B-Dog2 texted the show, and he said, Tempe is a beautiful spot to me. That mountain and riverside river beside the stadium. Lance texts the show, and he says Feinbaum is on SEC now, and he's enough reason not to watch. Maybe so. I'm sure it's okay. I'm sure it's good. You got to watch something on those mornings, I guess, if you're at home. Hail State fan said, I have no interest in the national narrative. I listen to MSU's radio pregame and postgame shows along with the game broadcast. And I appreciate that. We appreciate you, Hail State fan. Legbus says, me too. I love the MSU pregame and postgame. Yeah, Charlie and Bart do a fantastic job. Pregame, postgame, and they're pros and they cover it. And we're really fortunate, you know, and I will tell you that. State fans, and it's not a thing about me, but you know, there's room for improvement in all areas, but State fans, we're really fortunate with the people that we have, you know, on the radio. Somebody texted in and said, Matt, is Alabama beating Georgia at the end of September in a regular season game? Oh, this is Big Jim. Big Jim wants to know if Alabama's going to beat Georgia. Well, you know, there's something about it that, you know, leads me to want to say, yeah, I think that there's a chance that they could do it. Is the game in Tuscaloosa? I think it is, isn't it? I have to look that up. I would think athlete for athlete, you might have a chance to do it, but I would think Georgia's still probably who everybody would pick. Georgia is just so, like, you look at their linebackers, defensive front, and their quarterback's really good. They're just so talented and deep. All right, that's it for today. We'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same place. I'll see you then. For all of us here on the show, for Beaver, I'm Matt. See you then. See you.